the recording, and I will kind of first go through the recap, right, of what we covered so far and what would go on to the exam. I mean, I need to call it quiz. Sorry. Basically midterm. So we talked about Linux basic, the file structure in Linux, the shell command, shell scripting. So you can expect things like, okay, can you fill in the blank to do certain things, or what does this regular expression do? Um, if I want certain things out of my regular expression, how do I put it so that I can search or I can find certain things? From the sample exam, you might have seen this already. There's one question on how do I print a um in a like I can process a git log in a way that is really like more formatting, right? Um, a basic of C, data types in C, how to use pointers and how to use arrays pointer, how to use double pointers. If we finish the class early, which I think we likely will, I'm gonna basically have office hour every on Discord and answer your questions. Typically like usual, but you have a much longer time toward the end. Just go there, ask question. You can DM, you can text, you can type in question, or you can just turn on the microphone and say, "Hey, Ajahn, can you look at this part of my code and say what's going on?" Right? This also includes assignment too, so we will have a lot of time today. I likely. So take advantage of that. I'm here. I'm not like, hey, I'm not gonna give you any hints on assignment two. All right. So make sure you are aware of that. It's also cover memory allocation and data structure in C, the one that we cover, which include things like list, queue, stack, and binary tree. If I'm asking something, it's likely to be something related to that or a variation of these data structure, but it might have some certain elements that would add the fun to the exam. All right. And any questions about the previous exam, or do you want to take a look at it first and we will ask, like you can ask the questions later, or should I go through them? Any what's your choice here? Any preference? Because I can definitely go through them like now with all of you. Do you prefer that? Okay, let's go through this together. All right. I will need to switch the screen that I'm sharing to my main monitor because so that I can write on it. So give me a second. So let me stop sharing and share this screen. All right. Can you see the PDF? Okay, awesome. I will need to look at my monitor on the desktop to watch out for any questions you have, but I'm gonna go through them and kind of look at both places at the same time. If you have any questions, still feel free to type in the questions. All right. Actually, let me open up the chat box and put it here so they can still see your question here as well on my laptop. Okay, so the first question is, I want to run ls, right? Ls command, but when you run it, I got command not found. What happened? Anyone here want to tell me what could have happened here? And basically your friend is asking you to, hey, can you help fix this? How do you fix it? Yes. So one of you said, hey, maybe it's not in the path directory, right? That's correct. ls is not in the path directory, right? So any question about this particular sub question, like task 1A in the first midterm? Can we say wrong shell? Wait, why would that say command not found? Are there multiple answers? The other thing that someone can do to your machine is move where ls is. So it's not on your default path directory. So instead of /bin/ls, it's somewhere else, right? Most of the time, if you don't give root access to your friend, and by accident, that could not, well, usually should not happen. But I see some creative answer, which is correct as well. Things like, yes, as I said earlier, someone moved ls, someone delete ls from bin, right? Or you can maybe rename the command, and basically path cannot find the file, right? The most common thing that can happen is someone modify the path directory and by accident remove /bin from it. Wrong shell, I guess. I think most shell support path that includes /bin, right? So you have to be basically in the wrong shell, but at the same time modify the path directory that kind of get rid of the /bin directory from the path environment variable. When I said this should be 3 points, check out the lecture and it should have somewhere that tells you what could have gone wrong, right? This is kind of depending on year by year, like what did I say in particular to address certain questions on the lecture. This is the one that's like come up on the Q&A and like, oh, okay, yes, I can ask this, right? The second question is the git log. Anyone had tried git log before? The command git log basically would print out who modifies certain things, right? So the question asks you to create a script or a command that would print a brief version of git commit history. I want something like this. I want to have the bracket and in there the name of people who commit as well as the date. How do I do this? So because this is also open end, open book, open everything exam, so the answer actually relies in this command call. Again, git log, right? But you put in the option that say, I want the pretty format. And you say equals, right? And then you want the author name in there. So you put in the bracket, right? This is the bracket you want, and then %an would print out the author name. And you want colon afterward, right? And the next thing you want to print is the date. The date is %cd. That's a special format string as well. This is kind of working the same way, close to print out, right? The same concept applies here as well. And with %cd, you just end the quotation and you specify the date format, right? And the format would follow day, month, and year. So with this, it would give you ability to, oh, sorry. Where was the text? Oh, here. It would give you the ability to essentially print like this. The third question, it has to do with your homework, actually, the sorted list, right? So if you go to question 3, blah, 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 here, anyone remember this? So this is the one of the question that I'm not gonna tell you the answer because this goes to your assignment too. So this is the one that I'm gonna not say anything here. It should be pretty self-explanatory if you've been through the text on assignment 2, right? You might have questions about how to implement it. Feel free to ask me the specifics of that. But I'm not gonna give you the solution because the solution basically gives you 3 points on assignment 2. So I'm gonna skip that. But the question 1C is, I want you to write a script, right, that generate the input for your program in question 3. Basically, it should have these particular following formatting, right? The first argument is the string input, which will print random input with n lines specified by the second argument. So things like I can put in input 10. Input 10 would print 10 lines for the input. Or you can do check, right? The command check, which will basically check if the file, the formatting of this input file follow what you're supposed to do. Basically, it should be I number, D, P, D number or P, right? Make sure the input is in the correct format. This question is basically shell scripting, and it involves a bunch of string comparison and for loop. So over here, you first loop over, right, this number. So this is input number 2, right, to your command. Then with that, right, you print the random command out using the format you specify, and that's it basically. This is basically a longer question in the sense that your code, your script is long, but it's pretty self-explanatory, right? You would loop over the input that you detect. You first check in how many arguments for the inputs that you have. If there's only one argument, that is just a checker, so you put in the file into and check the formatting. Otherwise, you just print out the input, which is actually really easy. Just echo and then randomly pick I, D, or P, right? The next question is about C code, and this is going to ask you to do a quicksort. So we did not cover this semester because I want to make sure we cover more of the binary tree side. But in this question, we ask you to implement quicksort. But instead of using qsort, you implement your own. And this kind of requires some basic data structure and basic algorithm. So this is why something like this that requires other classes will not be on the exam. But here is the explanation of quicksort, right? So if size is 1, return the input. Otherwise, if you have an array like this, 1, 10, 2, 4, 5. What you do is you would randomly pick a pivot. Let's say, can someone pick me one number here? 10. Okay, 10 or 2. Okay, let's do 10 first. Right? So let's say we pick this as a pivot. What I do is to compare everything else with this number. If it's lower, it goes to the lower array. If it's higher, we go to the higher array. So lower, what are the numbers that are lower? So 1 is lower, 2 is lower, 4 is lower, 5 is lower. The higher is basically just that one number, 10, right? So this is basically empty set. Then you go recursion, you go do the same thing again. Pick a random pivot here, 1, 2, 4, 5. Which one do you want as a pivot? 2. Okay, let's do 2. Then again, you split this array into 1, right? So this was 1 and 4 and 5. Then over here, let's say we just pick a random number. Let's do 5. So you're gonna have 4, right? And then you merge it back. When you merge it back, you start from this array, right? You merge it with this. So it's 1, 2, 4, 5, and 10. So at the end of the day, you will have the sorted array. So this is how quicksort works. Let me erase everything again, right? And have a better array to kind of show this example, actually. Because this is almost partially sorted. You won't see the difference much. Sorry about the poor example that I put here. I need a better random number generator. 7, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 9. Let's do this. And then I pick a random pivot. Let's pick 4. So basically, I would have the left array 7. Oh, not my bad. 7 is bigger than 4, so I don't put it in. The left array will be 3, 2, 1. The right array will be 7, 5, and 9. right? You split based on 4. Then let's say over here I pick 2. The left array will be 1. The right array will be 3. Over here, let's say you pick 5. The left array is basically empty. Nothing is here. The right array is 7 and 9, right? Then over here, let's say I randomly pick 7. The left is nothing. The right is 9, right? And then when I merge it back, I start from the bottommost. I merge this, right, together. So I have 9 at the end. You have 7 in the middle, and I have empty set, right? Then you merge it with this. You have empty set, followed by empty set, followed by 5, which is the middle guy here, and then the 7 and 9 that you have from the right side. Then you merge the top part again, right? Over here, when you merge, you will have 1 to the left, 3 to the right, and 2, which is the middle number that you just pick as a pivot. And you merge everything again here, right? So it's 1, 2, and 3 from the left side that's already sorted. On the right side, you have 5, 7, and 9, which is already sorted, and 4 in the middle, right? And when you merge, you get the sorted array. So that's the algorithm. If you're curious, when you take the algorithm class, you learn this thing. And you have to prove for how fast this is. And why is that named Quicksort? Why is that faster? And here's the explanation of what I just said earlier, right? And what I want is, I want you to implement that. I want you to implement a function that takes entry. And I have a quicksort that give the array as an input and the size, let's say 5 number. And then I sort them. Basically, it's sort them. What would happen is you would use recursion. You first pick pivot. So second, split the array. To make a new array, what do you do? What command do we use to make a new array so that we can split the array? How do I dynamically allocate an area for my array? Malloc, right? So you malloc the left side and you malloc the right side. Then you put things into your array based on the pivot. So you would compare every element to the pivot. So let's say in here, we would randomly pick number 4. You would compare, okay, is 1 greater than 4? No, go to the left array. Is 5 greater than 4? Yes, go to the right array. Is 2 greater than 4? No, go to the left array and do this. Then once you have the left array, right, let's say it's called left, and the right array that's called right, then you would again recursively call quicksort. Left, and the number of elements in the left side. So over here, 1, 2, and 3 will be in the left side, so it's left 3. And then quicksort the right side, which now only have 1 element. Then you merge. When you merge is the left side and the right side. Once this is done, it should have been basically sorted. So you merge them together, write the result back to the original array and return them, right? So this is basically how this is planned. And again, this semester, I'm not gonna just probably give you these like big tasks if we kind of broken down for you. So it's more like one step at a time. And think about what we learned so far about the data structure. Right? Any question about this problem? Any questions about this problem? Because otherwise, I'm gonna skip this question because this is on your assignment too. We can talk about this during the Q&A afterward. This question is actually pretty simple, but there's a trick to this. So I say, hey, I have this pointers, right? And I malloc for A, right? I malloc 10,000 elements for A. And A is somehow size of unsigned char. So let me ask you this. Just this one line, how many integer do I get from this command? Note that in this question, integer is 2 bytes, not 4 bytes. So how many integers do I have? How many integers? 5,000, right? 5,000 integer. And then I make sure B and C points to the same address. But B is a short character pointer and C is a long pointer. And the thing I do is from the first 0 to 2,499, like this first half of A of I equals I. Simple, right? A of I equals I. Then starting from I equal to 2,000 to 10,000, instead of using A, I use B. And B of I is going to equal to I modulo 256. What happened here? So from A0 to A of 999, what is the value of these elements? What's the values going? So what's A0? What's the number of A0? If I print A0, what do I see? 0, right? So this start from 0 to, if I print A of 999, that's going to be 999. The problem is A of 1,000. This is essentially B of 2,000, right? Because B is 1 byte, A is 2 bytes. So this is basically B of 2,000. So if you look at A 1,000, it would consist of 2 bytes information. The first byte is going to be what? And the second byte is, this is the first byte, second byte. So what would we go to the first byte? What's the number there? This is basically 2,000, right? Modulo 256. So this is, let's say this number is K. This is going to be K and K plus 1. All right. So first question, probably simple. What's the size of A in bytes? What is the size of A in bytes? Right. If you're not sure what's going on, look at this line. Look at this line. I malloc 10,000 multiplied by size of unsigned char. Unsigned char, I say here, character is 1 byte, so it's basically 1 byte multiplied by 10,000. What the value of is plus 16 in hexadecimal? The value. By the way, for this question, if you answer in decimal, that's also fine. That's when I graded it. If it's in decimal, it's also fine. But what's a plus 16? What I say here is, after malloc, A start from 0x10000, right? So A is in hexadecimal 0x1000. So A plus 16 is what? 0x1000 plus, what's 16 in hexadecimal number? Yep. So this is basically 0x 1010 over here. What's the value of a plus 16 in decimal? The value of this address. 16. Right? Because this is basically a of 16. And I have the code that say a of I equals I. So the value is going to be 16. What about the value of b plus 16? Because I said b equals a, right? So over here, b is at the address 0x 1000. Oops, actually I did wrong here. This question is wrong. My bad. So when I do a plus 16, do I go 1 byte or 2 bytes? What's the type of a? What's the data type of a? It's an integer, so it's 2 bytes, right? So a plus 1, in this case, a plus 1 is 0x 1000 plus 2 in decimal, right? So a plus 16 is basically 0x 1000 plus 16 multiplied by 2. So this should be 0x what? 1020. Thank you. Yes. But in this case, b is 1000. B is a character, right? So b plus 16 is 0x 1000 plus 0x 10. So that's going to be 0x 1010. The value of b16 in hex is what? Well, that should be in decimal. But this is basically a of 8, right? B of 16 is a of 8. A of 8 is equal to value 8 in decimal, or 0x what in hexadecimal? 0x8, right? How about this? What's the value of address A plus 10,016? So this is basically 0x, we do the same thing with 0x 1000 plus, what's 1016 in hexadecimal? Can someone go to, I guess, Google and get me 1016 in hexadecimal? Thank you. 3f8. So in decimal, this is 10,016 multiplied by 2. This is 0x3f8. Multiplied by 2 is left shift by 1, right? So this is basically what you have is 3 is 1, 1, f is 1, 1, 1, 1, 8 is 1, 0, 0, 0, right? And you left shift by 1, so that's 1 more 0. And you add 0x1000. So the address is basically 1111111000. So that's the value of this guy here. Convert that to hexadecimal. What is this? Do 4 group at a time, right? So this is 7, 8, 7f, 7f, and 8. 7f and 8. What's the value of a plus 10,016? This is the array at 10,016. What do we know about this part? If you go back up, right, over here, you would notice that a 10,016 is overwritten by the second loop. Second loop would overwrite this value. A of 10,016 would consist of 2 bytes information at the location at the address, right? At the address A plus 10,016 for the first byte and A of 10,017 for the second byte, right? So what you can do here is to go to the loop over here, right? And see what's the value be there at 10,016 and 10,017. The address of B is essentially, this is going to be B of what? 20,032, right? Because each step in A is 2 steps in B. So this is the byte B of what? 2032 and B of 2033, right? This is going to be what? If you go back to the code, is that number modulo 256, right? So this is basically 2032 mod 256. This is 2033 mod 256. Use then string this number together. So B 2033 go first, followed by B of 2032. This would be your answer. What is the value of B plus 10,016 in hex? This is actually pretty easy. 0x1000 plus the hexadecimal format of 1016, right? So this is basically 0x1000 plus, because you know it here, 0x3f8. So this is basically 0x13f8. The value of B of 10,016, this is a little bit odd here. This is still within the first loop. This is within this first loop. B of 10,016 is equal to A of 508, right? So this should be basically 508, but is that the answer? Why? No is correct, but why? B is the character. Unsigned character, right? So you need to make sure you convert this to character, which will crop anything that go above 255, right? So you convert this to hex, convert to binary, and then crop only the last 8 bits. Right? Crop the only last eight bits. Now, you might have noticed these 2 questions are the same as these 2 questions. So I'll just do the next 2 questions, right? That was my mistake. 3 points for everyone last semester. C plus 10,016 C is a long integer. And in this question, I said long integer is 4 bytes. Okay, so basically this is going to equal to 10,000 in hexadecimal plus 3f8 left shift by 2. So again, this is going to be 0x1000 plus 0x3f8, which is 10,016 left shift by 2, because each one is 4 bytes long. I want to make sure I multiply by 4. All right. what is the value of that? C of 10,016 is going to equal to A at this location. A is 2 bytes, so it's a 2032. So you know it's going to the second loop. Where's A of 2032? That's going to be B of what? B of what? What is starting address here? You multiply again by 2. 4064, right? B of 4064. B of basically this address, right? This address will point to 4 bytes. The first byte is B of 4064, then B of 4065, then B of 4066, and B of 4067, right? And then because you know the index already, this is basically 4064 modulo 255, 4065 modulo 265, 256, my bad. The 4066 modulo 256, 4067 modulo 256. You then convert to binary number, put it together, and convert that to decimal number, and you're gonna get the answer. By the way, because this is open book, you can kind of Google this and just have the binary conversion. This should be like 3 minutes of work. All right, any questions? And I think that's it for the exam. Any questions? Because otherwise, we are gonna transition into a Q&A. What we will do is, do we have any question, like a big question on the lecture material? Otherwise, I'm gonna be on Discord and just waiting for any questions that you might have. Okay, so there's a questions about when we malloc, should we malloc exactly the number elements we need? Yes. If you know how many do we need, just malloc that much. Otherwise, you use more than you need. Unless you know that there's a likelihood that you need more, then you will malloc the size that are likely to be correct, and you don't have to malloc again. Because malloc is dynamic, you can malloc again too. But whenever you have to malloc again, it involves a lot of copying. When those copy is not free. So most of the time, if you know exactly the size, just give the size as the argument for malloc. All right. Any other questions? How do we merge array in Quicksort? Oh, you mean the Quicksort question, right? So let me go through an empty area in the paper here. Actually, I don't have Scratchpad here. So let me find an empty space I can write things in. I guess I'll write it here. So over here, you have the pointer to say entry, right? Input for the Quicksort question. And then you split into two array, right? Left and right. Right. And at the time when you run Quicksort, you also have the pivot. You know the value of the middle guy, right? So one thing you can do is this input is an array, right? A, B, C, D, E, blah, blah. And left is this array. And right is this array. And because you split already, one thing you know for sure is you can basically put left here, copy it to this left side, put the pivot in the middle, and put the value of the right side over here. So just copying elements, because you know that you don't need the input array anymore because you just want the sorted array, right? And when that's the case, just overwrite to the original array, and that's also fine because that's basically what you want to return. Does it answer the question? Just want to double check. Is it clear? So you copy it over. Yeah. And just don't forget to free, right, left and free right when you are done with this recursion call. Okay. Any more questions? When malloc function, we want to return that function. How do we free it? Great question. So over here, let's say we do quicksort, right? There's a definition, right? And you have the input in, right? So over here, you say, hey, I'm gonna do recursion. You malloc, right? Malloc left, you malloc right, right, and then you do the recursion call. You do quicksort left, and you do quicksort right. Right. So let's assume we have that. We have left, we have right. You want to free left, free right at the end. The first thing you do is to copy results first. Copy results back to input. So now input has a sorted array. Afterward, before you return, because you know that we don't need left anymore, we don't need right anymore, because everything is now in the resulting array. You can then free left and free right. Because by this point, you guarantee you're not going to touch left and right anymore, and then you end the loop. Then that's when you return. So you free before you return, if you know that you're not going to need that array anymore. So does it answer your question? What if you don't want to edit the input, then you malloc? I guess you can then malloc the output and you return the address of that new malloc. Then you need to manage how are you going to free things. So that's kind of case by case and how you like initialize the malloc and how you are going to free. Yeah.